Hi, Megan and Jora. Thanks for doing the December edition of our MPS video blog vlog. I wanted to invite you to this month to talk a little bit about, first and foremost, your role so that people get a chance to meet you and understand what you do. But then just talk a little about MPS and how kind of you see things progressing with MPS and maybe challenges you see, but also successes and wins that we've had as an organization from both of your perspectives. So, Megan, I will start with you and let you introduce yourself to
Sure.
our viewership.
Well, thank you, Dr. Means. Joy and I are happy to be here today. So my name is Megan Floyd, and I'm the executive director of the MPS. I actually started with the MPS in 2002, and I started as membership and CME coordinator, and I've kind of been working my way through the organization and learning all the facets of what makes it so successful. I took over as an executive director about 2 years ago, which is when we brought Jora on board. And I love working with the MPS. I love the diversity of our membership. I love that every day is different. I think, working with a nonprofit has been really exciting for me. Um, I started in pre-med and wanted to be emergency medicine and
Oh,
started into
good.
residency actually. And it wasn't for me. And it was a really, challenging time to kind of think about like, I've gone through all of this and this is not where I want to end. And so I kind of pulled back a little bit and refocused. So I'm really happy to have ended up with the MPS. I feel like I'm still in the medical community, which I love. I love working with physicians and I love, trying to problem solve. So this has been a really good fit for me. Um, that's a little bit about me. I don't know, Jora, if you want to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Jora and I just hit my 2 year mark with
Wow.
MPS. I know it's it's flown by.
I can't believe it's been 2 years. Crazy.
I know. But I'm the membership meetings and publications coordinator. So dealing with all the members, with their dues and just questions they have, processing new member applications, and then helping plan our events like the annual dinner, CMEs, networking, things like that, and then also working on our MPS newsletter and the Maryland Psychiatrist with Dr. Hirschfield. Um, and I have a background in marketing, but I always enjoyed being in the healthcare setting. I volunteered at hospitals and I worked as like a patient transporter in a hospital for a few years. But kind of like Megan, like healthcare was not for me, like actually being a nurse or a physician or anything like that. So I was really happy when I found MPS because I was able to use my marketing degree, but also still stay in that healthcare area and have somewhat of a role helping out the physicians.
Well, thanks. Thanks. Gosh, I can't believe it's been 2 years. So you two are really the work behind MPS, like you keep it moving and going. So I will say at the end, but certainly I want to say now, thank you to both of you for all the hard work you do because again, you really hold up MPS. I'll start with Megan and I'll reflect a little bit on one of Jora's comments because we talked about the Maryland Psychiatrist and hopefully everyone's read the article that I wrote for the Maryland Psychiatrist that talks about the current role of APA and MPS in our current sort of political climate and sort of navigating that. So maybe just from your perspective, Megan, since you've seen MPS over many years and what role it's played, and you've seen sort of variations in that, I'm curious about what you think about our current state of MPS and kind of the trajectory with it as a professional organization to support Maryland psychiatrists. Like, um, what have you seen in terms of how things have changed over the years, and what I guess what are your reflections on where things are going?
Sure. I've been at the MPS a long time, so I've seen a lot of change, both positive and negative. There's still, I think, remains at the core a really strong group of just dedicated members. We always say that our members are among some of the most active in the country. The APA always praises the MPS for our wonderful members and staff and how engaged we are. Um, for me, I will say that one of the things that really changed the political landscape of the MPS and kind of how we operate and our outlook was COVID. I think during that time, before that time, the MPS had always been The executive committee was in the office every week in person, and the committees met in person, and we were in Annapolis in person. And I think when that shift happened and we went virtual, I mean, I think we were concerned that we were going to lose participation, but honestly, I felt like our committees grew, and I saw that we were able to reach people that maybe couldn't come downtown to Baltimore. Um, so I think we took that as a positive. We also took that time to, move in with MedChi and kind of get closer with them, and which has opened doors to be more collaborative, which has been really beneficial. I think we do have a really diverse membership as far as, practice types and not just location, and also, people's views and beliefs on things. And I think sometimes as an organization, trying to find that middle ground, and just come back to what is our mission, what are our values, and what are our goals. And I think sometimes trying to strip away the political rhetoric around that and just make sure we're focused on, patient-centered care and what can we do to support our members. I think, for instance, during the government shutdown, we had members concerned, I'm not getting paid for Medicare. I don't know, so trying to help that and send out information to them, like, be a resource for them has been, I think, one of the things, like Jora will say as well, that we just enjoy is member questions and how can we help you? Like, what problems are you facing, and how can we work with you to find a solution? I think that's something that, I personally enjoy, is like problem solving and trying to figure that piece out. I think, we meet weekly with district branch execs from all over the country, kind of to check in and say, what issues are you facing? And, some of the things that the MPS is facing, you know, regarding, maybe our PAC or contributions, or, people just burn out on the political climate, I will say are things that are not unique to Maryland. Those are things that we're seeing nationwide. Even the APA will tell you, MedChi will tell you our PAC donations are down, like we're really struggling. People are just burnt out. And so I think that's one thing, we're trying to figure out is how do we re-engage our membership, um, in this type of political climate where everybody is just bombarded and feeling, frustrated. How do we kind of bring them back in? I think in general, the MPS operates more on a local level. We're so active during the General Assembly, which is the fastest and most furious 90 days, um, and we have just really dedicated, great members who, if they can't come in person, we get emails or we get phone calls like, hey, did you hear about this bill? What is MPS doing? And I always like when I can respond and say, yes, we know about this bill, and this is what we're doing for you. And, sometimes I'll say, wow, gosh, I didn't know you guys were on it. Thank you so much. And I think for me, that type of, interaction keeps us going. I
Yeah.
mean, feeling like we're making a difference, or educating legislators. Um, so I don't know if that's helpful, but that's, for me, I think when we talk about the political climate or where we see the MPS going, I just want to kind of, maybe work on re-engaging members and, reminding them like we're here for you and how can we help you? And I think for me, that's kind of where I'm focused right now.
That's right. That makes sense. I think that's a good transition to Jora because clearly you're on the front line in terms of organizing CMEs, organizing, tracking membership, organizing meetings. I'm curious about over your vast 2 years with us now, what have you seen in terms of difficulties, maybe engaging members in that way, or maybe changes you have seen or anticipate when it comes to those aspects of your work? I know it can be challenging to figure out what do I do virtually? What do I do in person? How do I reach early career psychiatrists? All these sorts of things. So I'm just curious about your reflections over the past couple of years.
Yeah, so I came in post-COVID. So, like Megan was saying, there was a big shift in terms of meetings, whether it was executive committee or CMEs, all being majority of them now being virtual. And we found that even though people say that they want that in-person communication and that networking and mingling, it is just easier to do them virtually. We have higher attendance when they're virtual, which I understand. Like half of my college was virtual, and it was a lot easier to show up to class when I just had to log onto my computer rather than walking how many blocks to a classroom. But I think balancing throughout the year where it's not all virtual. So people are still finding the benefit of coming to in-person events and they feel like their membership, they are receiving that like networking opportunity. I would say our CMEs are virtual, but you're just kind of listening to a presenter speak or a number of presenters speak. But when we are in person, we have the time either prior to the presentations or after the presentations to just enjoy time together. And we do get very positive feedback from it. I think it's just encouraging people to come to those in-person things. I mean, our annual dinner, we still have a great turnout for that and people always enjoy it. And we have a couple, we try to do like one in-person CME throughout the year and then we've been doing the Orioles game for the past few years, which people really enjoy. We are trying to figure out a way to do more like laid back, relaxed events, especially for our ECPs and residents and fellows. I feel like they like kind of something more casual. And then the other issue with doing things in person is cost. Like things are so much more expensive these days. We obviously don't want our members to have to pay a ton because that's part of their dues is for having these events for a pretty reduced cost. So some things are just out of our control in terms of what we can afford to do in person, but I think we've been in a pretty good balance and like we've been working together for the past few months to plan the in-person CME in January, which we're very hopeful will bring in a lot of people and we're excited for that.
Great. No, I think it's your comments are really important, right? I think that understanding the balance of all those competing things is huge. So often one person says, "Oh, I want more of this or I want more of that," but you have to think about all those aspects, the cost, the virtual aspect of it, the location, the venue, the food, is it social, is it learning, all those things when you're putting together programs. So thanks for all you do and thanks for staying on top of all of that and balancing it well. I agree. I think that we are doing a pretty good job, if I say so myself, of trying to put it all together and balance everyone's desires while also just creating quality programming. Thank you for pubbing the January CME, right? January 28th is an in-person CME that we are putting on State of Psychiatry for the state of Maryland, where we're having leaders from major hospital systems who head up psychiatry come and do an in-person panel. Hopefully, really engaging. Again, hope to reach not only MPS members but non-MPS members. Always looking to increase the number of members that we have, and this is one of the ways that we want to do that. So I'm excited about that. Congrats on the very successful psychopharm CME that we just held as well. That was great and very well done and very well attended. And then I will even put it out there since you mentioned it, our annual dinner in April. So um, I'm- I like to plug things repeatedly. So there we go. But in saying that, I just want to thank both of you for all the hard work you do. As I stated before, you really are what, keeps us all together. Otherwise it's just a bunch of ragtag psychiatrists trying to meet. But you collect us all and keep us focused and actually make us productive. So thank you so much. I'm hoping this introduces you to the world so everyone sees, the faces behind all of the emails that keep us moving forward.
And I would just, encourage our members if you have questions or comments or suggestions or ways that we can improve, or if there's a need that you feel like is not being met, please reach out to us, text, email, phone calls. We love to hear from you. We would be more than happy to have a conversation with you at any time. So please do not hesitate ever to reach out to either one of us. And if we don't know the answer, we'll find it for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Megan. Well, since this will be a December edition, I will say happy holidays to everyone too, to you guys, but to anyone who actually watches this as well. So thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.